Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. DiVincenzo, and I welcome you to our consumer chemistry course. This is Chem 1030, subtopic the environment. So we'll be looking at basic chemistry from an environmental perspective. What I'm going to do here, this is your very first video that you're watching. This is the introductory video. What I'm going to do is share my screen, and we're going to go to our Canvas page here. And this video is designed to basically just get you oriented and familiar. I hope to keep it fairly short. You all should be familiar with Canvas. I also want to say to you that I don't focus on the specifics of what you see. I don't change this video every single time I teach the course, and I do teach it in the regular semester, and I do teach it in the summer. So depending on when you're taking it, things might look a little different. Some of the documents I show you might have different things going on, and different dates will be different, stuff like that. So I want you to focus on the overall layout. So this is Canvas, of course, and I have our home page. This is our home page here, set up to show you the three most recent announcements. So this was the welcome announcement that you were probably looking at, and I had a link to a video there, or you might have went into the modules to look at the course introduction and found the video there. So this will always have the three latest announcements, and this is your syllabus here. And this is just a general syllabus, and I make that note down here. It's a general course syllabus. The real specifics of the course and the logistics of the course are all under our course introduction module. I gave you some basic information here about the course in general, okay? But the real specifics are going to be contained within that module. Okay, so this being a very general syllabus, we need to focus a little bit on the more specifics here, but I did want to show you these are the topics that we're talking about in class, so it should be an interesting course for a lot of you rather than just boring old chemistry. That's the idea here, and you're not going to be responsible for a lot of difficult chemistry. I just want to get you familiar with important topics and give you knowledge that'll help you in various aspects of your life. So, you all should be familiar with Canvas. You got over here, you have your quizzes, discussions, assignments. You can get to all different stuff along here. Okay, you have a calendar here and all of that. So what I'm going to do now is jump into the modules here and show you the basic layout of all the information of the course. So this first module here, which I've expanded already, is your course introduction. And this is the video that you're watching right here. So getting started here, if you haven't looked at this already, this is the first thing you really need to do. It's called the Academic Integrity Survey. Until you do that, some of the other assignments and resources won't be open for you. So what you're looking at right now is my page, if you will. Everything's available to me. You might not be seeing all of this. You have to complete that first, okay? And then I just tell you about the layout of the course. There is a safety agreement that needs to be filled out. There's another video on the lab. I'll talk about the specifics of the lab in that video. This one will be just getting you familiar with the modules and the content. But the safety agreement is required for you to be able to do any lab experiments at home. I won't accept or grade anything until that is done. But I will talk about the specifics of the lab later. You'll also have an introductory discussion post, and this is where under discussions, which is right here on the left panel, there's actual graded discussions, but this one's just an introduction to introduce yourself. I'm going to have an introduction there of myself, but you can do that just to introduce yourself to me and to your colleagues, your other students in your course. So you should complete most of the stuff that's listed up here by the end of the first day of classes. That's the idea. The course in general, you'll see that you have worksheets, you have slides, you have chapter readings, and you have videos. And then you'll have things that are actually going to be handed in. You'll have graded worksheets, discussions, certain modules only, quizzes, and labs, certain modules only. So you have worksheets and quizzes for all the modules, and then discussions and labs for some of those modules. And you can always refer to your calendar page. And I'm going to show you some other stuff that's important. But let's go back here to our course module. There's an introductory video. Here's the syllabus. I'm not going to go through the whole syllabus. You can read this, but I will point out a couple things. You definitely want to go through this. Got some important information in here. Things like you'll realize that I have here in red while your answers. So when you answer quizzes and you answer questions for the lab and you answer questions for your worksheets, your answers, while your answers may be correct, if the terminology and phrases used are not contained within the given resources, you will not be given credit for your answers. In using the course resources, you should synthesize the information from all sources. So the idea here is you have readings, you have my PowerPoint slides, and I'll show you those in the module. You have videos. All of this is to be watched, studied, and then putting your answers into your own words from that information. While you can Google things and use AI, that is not allowed, and you will be not only if you do this right here, give me terminology and phrases not contained in the resources. This is a fairly old textbook that we use because it just the fundamentals that we're interested in. You start Googling and AIing questions about solar energy, you're going to get stuff that is not even remotely close to what it is we're doing in our class. And I will pick up on that instantly. And I have in the past. I've called out several students. You'll fail the assignment and you'll also potentially be brought up on charges of academic misconduct because you are signing an academic integrity pledge. So be very careful what you do. It's critically important that you look at the resources and take the information from the resources and answer the questions there. You'll notice also that quizzes and discussions cannot be handed in late. I allow everything else to be handed in. There is a late policy, but I have to allow you to hand in all the labs because you can't pass the course unless you do all the labs, and all the labs have to be done to near completion. I'll talk about that in the lab policy. It's really important you watch that video because there are specifics about the lab that are really critical. But early on in the course, I have a policy where I accept late stuff without a penalty until you get familiar with everything. Depending on whether you're taking that in the summer or during the regular semester, determines how long that grace period is. In the summer, it's very short because we're only together for about 5 weeks. Here's how the grading breaks down. So you've got lab assignments, quizzes, worksheets, and discussions, which are all graded. Here's your scale that's used. And to be honest with you, while this might look like by the time we're done with this video a decent amount of work, and it is because it's a 4-credit course and you're taking it sometimes in the summer, but even during the semester, it's a decent amount of work for those of you not science majors and have a lab. The grades are in this class are always pretty good. So you have to realize that this is more about showing up, being organized, and doing the work. I just taught this course, and the last time I taught this course, 24 students. I had 1 withdraw, 17 A's, 2 C's, and the rest were B's. Okay, so most everyone's getting A's and B's. So if you wind up getting organized early, getting your supplies early, because I'll talk about the lab, you'll need supplies, then get off to a good start. You'll be fine, even though you'll work hard, especially if you're taking it in the summer. That's all I really need to say about the syllabus. You can look that over more closely yourself. Um, there's the lab syllabus. I'm not going to open that now because, like I said, I've got a separate video for that. And that's right here that you'll watch after this. This is for lab also. This is a document that I expect you to look at really early on. And that is how to be successful in this course. And what this is you going through this and getting an idea of how I expect you to move through this course. Now, if you're a seasoned student that's taken a lot of courses and you know how to study and all of that, then this is not as critical to you. You'll read through it once and be done with it. Others of you might need to spend a little bit more time referring to this over and over again. The idea is I tell you, how to do things. Review the outline first of all. There's a module outline. There's PowerPoint slides. Read the chapter, study the PowerPoint slides, watch the videos. take schedule Zoom meeting if you need it, fill out your worksheet, make sure you don't use AI or internet, and, eventually do your discussion. The last thing you'll do is the quiz because by then you'll have, discussed the topic with other people. You'll have filled out your worksheet, done your reading, watched your videos. You'll be ready for the quiz because the quiz is timed. And of course, that's an assessment that's a little bit more stressful for students because it is timed. Where worksheets and labs, you are open and you have lots of time to do those. So use that document as needed. And the last thing is your assignment schedule. And this is really critical because it has all of your due dates here. Everything, lab and what I guess I consider the lecture materials. It's also got the late policy on it, drop dates. It tells you, hey, you can't hand in uh, quizzes and discussions late. It also tells you about labs. Experimental labs are going to require pictures. You'll have to document the fact that you've bought the materials and you've done it, but I'll talk about that in lab. So make sure you keep this handy. This is all your assignments. So now I want to scroll down here. You've got other resources here. You got the course outline. Okay. You have a textbook. That's the full textbook. In the modules, I'll show you how the specific chapters. What's nice about the full textbook, you do have an index and a glossary that can come in handy. So you might want to use that. There is a couple times, once or twice in the class, where we're covering stuff where the topic was introduced in an earlier chapter that you're not responsible for. We're only doing what I think 8 chapters in the book, and the book has something like 25 chapters. So there are cases where you might want to look something up in there. So that's useful. I give you a periodic table. This is a link to an interactive periodic table, which is nice. And this is just a color periodic table. These two are just documents. This is an actual link. You can tell by the icon here. And some other student services for you. Now, let's take a look at the individual modules so you see what's contained in them. Here's module 1. Okay, so what you see here is initially really is the outline for that module. So it's going to give you definitions and concepts, tell you what chapters are contained. This is the only module with 2 chapters. All the rest have 1 chapter. So it's just module 1. Tells you what your assessments are for that one. So this is important. Not only that, by looking at your definitions and concepts, that makes you aware as you're reading, it makes you aware as you're reading what to focus on, because this is not a chemistry textbook, it's an environmental science textbook. So there's a lot of chemistry missing. So my PowerPoint slides and my videos will where you'll find more of the chemistry. Okay. So that outline is going to be critical before you go reading. And here are links to the chapters, specific chapters within that book, rather than having to open up the book every time because it's a big document. You might have to download that to actually utilize it. So, but it's a free textbook, but it's older. These 2 links right here, they're exactly the same. Just one is PowerPoint and one is a PDF. So whatever one is more friendly for you. This here, this is the video. Okay, so you have a video for each module. Couldn't remember exactly what that was. I should have a little video symbol there, but it just has a page for some reason. I'm new to Canvas too, so I'm learning all the logistics, some of the little icons and stuff I haven't learned yet. And anyway, so here's a periodic table video because your book does not even have a periodic table. And it might have, I don't think it does. Anyway, so this is to take you through the periodic table a little bit, which your book doesn't do a good job of because it's not a chemistry textbook. So you'll need that. And here's your assignments for each module. So there's the safety agreement I mentioned you have to fill out. Here's the introductory discussion. This one is not graded. That's why it doesn't have the little red circle, I guess. No, because the safety agreement is not graded either. I guess I kind of consider that graded. But anyway, I haven't learned all these symbols. But anyway, there's your first discussion. Now that is graded, so I'm not sure what the red symbol is. This might be that they're not available until you do that academic integrity. That's what that is, I think, pledge. Regardless, we'll be learning Canvas together if you're not familiar with it either. So you have a lab for this module and you have a quiz for this module. Okay. And there's the worksheet and your discussion. So there's all your assignments. That's the way every module is laid out. So you've got your outline to look at first, then you do some reading. You can watch the video maybe also when you're doing the reading, whatever. And these are the slides. This tells you what I focus on. So it's good to open up and look at these and look at your outline before you read, because there's a lot of information in some of the reading that you're not responsible for. Now, if you want to read the whole chapter, I encourage that. Increases your knowledge base and is better for your general education. But in some cases, there's information you're not going to be assessed on. So those are all your modules. There you see it, the 7 modules. So that means we've got 7 chapters. This one has 2 chapters. We're covering 8 chapters, that means. And you can see the topics. You'll see the same information in all of those, okay, with the chapters and all of that. Then there's a module specifically on your laboratory experiments. So I've got a lab video there. That's the same one that's up here, introducing you to the lab syllabus and what's required of lab. You also have a lab supplies video. You'll watch that closer to when I think I'll mention it in the announcements. When you get closer to doing an experimental video, this has got all your supplies. And as you're buying the material, it might be worthwhile to look at this too. But you got to immediately start buying your materials. And I'll talk about that in the lab video because some of the stuff's going to take a couple days to get to you, maybe a week or so. There's also a graphing video here. This is because we do some graphing. And if you're not familiar with graphing, you'll need to get to that video. So, and then there's all your laboratory experiments. So you also, if you're working with a Mac, you should realize that everything needs to be handed in Word or PDF format. So if you're working with Pages because you have a Mac, easy enough, just save it as a PDF. Okay. That's the formats that I accept. I was originally working with D2L, and that's really all that really worked within the D2L shell was Word and PDF. I'm not sure about Canvas yet, so I'm just going to keep it like that. So just save it as a PDF. It simplifies things for me because depending on what computer I'm working on, I might not have access to the software Pages, but I always have Word and I always have um, Adobe for PDF. So you'll be submitting everything in PDF and Adobe format. Okay, so I think that is the main structure of Canvas. And the content material that you have, you can go to all your assignments in any time right here. You'll see discussions, quizzes, worksheets, and lab reports all listed there. Here's our discussions. There's the introductory discussion one, not graded. Here's all the other discussions. Okay, and then you've got your quizzes. You can look at all this stuff separately. Um, and I think that is all I wanted to say. I'm going to stop my share. Once again, welcome you to our Chemistry for Consumer course. Reach out by email. Since this is a full online course, we typically don't have listed office hours. If you're in the neighborhood and you want to have an in-person meeting, I have no problem with that. I just don't listen because this is a true online asynchronous course. With that, I want to say goodbye and good luck and reach out if you have any issues. Thank you.